SpikeTV has announced that they will not be renewing TNA's television contract, which means that Impact will cease to exist after October unless TNA can get a new TV deal. This could be a huge deal for TNA. I mean, it seems like they were already in enough trouble as it was, and now they've lost their TV deal. Not that they can't find another one, but what TV deal are they going to find that they're going to be paid just as much as SpikeTV was paying them? And whatever that was, it couldn't have been much because we've been hearing about TNA's financial problems for years. So it seems to me that they are, up shit's creek without a paddle. Now, I don't know the specifics behind everything. I don't follow TNA news and everything like that. I don't care much about TNA. I rarely watch them. As a matter of fact, just about 1 year ago now, almost exactly, I actually did a TNA Impact review. It was a little wager I had made with fellow YouTuber Delexman. And I ended up reviewing an entire episode of TNA Impact, and I even used the Titanic theme song in the opening of that video as well. If you want to go back and take a listen to it, I'll put a link up here on the screen and in the description, and you can hear what I had to say about those fuckers 1 year ago. Now, although I've never been a TNA fan, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. This is not something that I am celebrating, okay? I don't feel good about this at all. I don't want TNA to collapse. I don't want TNA to crumble. It reminds me a little bit of my LeBron James video that I did recently, and there are a lot of people that do not agree with my opinion of LeBron James. But what I found is that a lot of the anger towards him, these people blame his fans. They say their fans are what is the most annoying about him. They root against him because they like to stick it to the fans that he has and all of the so-called bandwagon jumpers. Now, to me, everybody I know hates LeBron, so I don't know where these bandwagon jumpers are, but I can kind of see their point because whenever I've had a problem with TNA, it's never been TNA itself necessarily, although I do think they make stupid decisions and they do dumb shit all of the time. It's really the delusion of their fans that originally got me upset with TNA. I mean, you had a big group of TNA fans out there that actually believed legitly in their minds that TNA not only was better than the WWE, but that would also very soon take over the WWE and put them out of business. They truly believed that that was a possibility. And I think that's what got me so upset and was at the root of me doing commentaries to begin with, because I was like, surely wrestling fans can't be this deranged. They can't actually truly believe that in their head. It's one thing to prefer one wrestling company over another. There's lots of people that hate what the WWE does and they'll watch anything but the WWE. That's fine. I totally understand that because coming from me, somebody who's been watching wrestling as long as I have, trust me, I can totally relate to anybody that is disgusted with the shit that the WWE does. So if you want to enjoy pro wrestling and you go to Ring of Honor or TNA or Japan shit or anywhere else around the world to find the pro wrestling, the alternative pro wrestling to the WWE, then I say more power to you, and I appreciate that type of wrestling fan. But to bullshit yourself into thinking that the company you like the best is actually going to take over the wrestling business one day, that's just delusional bias, and you have to think things a little bit more thoroughly than that. And my problem with TNA was that their fans, were so concerned. TNA too, actually, so hung up on everything the WWE did. They were very much into reacting whatever the WWE did. It just seemed to me that they weren't concentrating on themselves and they were concentrating more on the competition. WCW had the same problem. Vince McMahon and the WWE did not acknowledge WCW until they had no choice. WCW, they would hang on their every word. TNA does the same thing. And it has always pissed me off about them and their fans. Every time a fan wants to make a video about how great TNA is, he spends half the time talking about how bad the WWE is. If you want to tell me how great TNA is, then tell me how great TNA is. Don't compare them. Don't spend half the time talking about the other company. Tell me what makes your company so great. Concentrate on your company, your favorite, your product. That's the advice that I've always given to not only TNA management, but TNA fans. Forget about the WWE. They do not exist. I swear to fucking God, if that company would have concentrated on themselves a little bit harder, instead of worrying about how to compete with the WWE, that was never going to happen. All the money they wasted on Hogan and Bischoff and all these different ideas, and taking this great alternative product with a six-sided ring and good in-ring work, where the whole company is just basically founded on athleticism and competition. A complete contrast and alternative to what you see in the WWE around the time that TNA started, which was just hokey, stupid, crazy angles and a bunch of fucking bullshit on Raw. TNA wanted to be the opposite of that. I can respect that. But the problem is they got way too into this delusion that they had that they can actually compete on the WWE's level, and they turned themselves into a minor league version of the WWE. Big fucking mistake. Everybody that the WWE let go, including writers and producers, all went over to work for TNA. They wanted to get as many WWE wrestlers and WWE minds as they could. As soon as a WWE wrestler would be released, most of the time that guy would go over to TNA and win their world title almost immediately. It amazes me how fans, how the smart-ass wrestling fans will criticize the WWE's inability to build new stars when actually you can turn on Raw and see a whole fucking shit ton of them. But what about TNA? They're the ones that keep taking, the WWE's trash, the shit that they're throwing away, TNA picks up and pushes on their TV show. Where are their new stars? Granted, they've made a few. There's some great workers in TNA, a ton of great workers, great wrestlers. Talent through the roof over there. Nobody's ever disputed that. But where's the big star? Where's the next big thing in wrestling? You're only finding the potential next big things in wrestling in the WWE. And TNA, I think their inability to stay focused and stay the course and basically dance with what brung you and keep the identity and the philosophy that they had from day one, I think that they would be in a lot better shape than they are right now. Is this the end of TNA? I don't know. I don't know the inside scoop. I don't know what the deal in TNA is. I hope that it's not. I hope they are able to land a TV deal somewhere. They're probably desperate as fuck. They'll probably take anything at this point. If Animal Planet wants to offer them a 3 a.m. time slot on Wednesday mornings, they're probably going to take it. So as long as TNA is somewhere on television, the fans will be able to access it. I don't know if they might have to, just go to the internet direction, but I don't know where they would, place their content on the internet if they wanted to go, Netflix or a site like that. Or if they have to go back to just doing the pay-per-views like they did when they first came in. I don't know. But if they don't figure it out soon, I worry for TNA. I really do, because it seems like they were struggling to stay afloat to begin with. And now with this latest crisis, if they don't find a TV deal, they very well could go out of business. And then you got Jeff Jarrett's company that's bubbling, that's waiting in the wings here. Jeff Jarrett, who founded TNA, winds up leaving the fucking company, starting his own company. What if he scoops up and takes a time slot that could have gone to TNA? I mean, it could be the ultimate revenge. And it could be the final nail in the coffin of TNA, and I really wouldn't want to see that happen. I laugh and I joke about TNA and I make fun of them and I criticize them, but at the end of the day, I don't want anybody to lose their job. There's a lot of people that work for TNA. There's a lot of people that depend on TNA. I'm not going to wish these people out on the street just because it personally gives me my jollies. That's fucking retarded. So I hope TNA can do whatever they need to do to survive, because I want to see a competition. That's another thing that I was actually excited about Jeff Jarrett's, upcoming promotion. I don't think the thing is going to be that successful. I don't think it can ever compete with the WWE. They're in the same boat as TNA. But what they can do is compete with each other. And if you get a secondary competition going underneath the WWE, that's what could create some buzz. And that's what I was rooting for, in this TNA GFW feud that we could be seeing in the future, So I'm rooting for both of these companies to stay in business long enough to where they can, develop a rivalry. So TNA, I wish you luck. I will keep my fingers crossed that you are somehow able to fight this crisis and you guys continue to live on and you're able to find a TV deal somewhere. So good luck with that. We'll briefly touch on Raw, the July 28th, 2014 edition. This is the second week in the build to SummerSlam. Last week it was announced that Brock Lesnar would be challenging John Cena for the WWE title at SummerSlam, just like we expected. John Cena was not on the show. This week John Cena was on the show and Brock Lesnar was not. So most likely we're only going to get 1 week between now and SummerSlam where both Brock and Cena are there. And you know what? That's fine, because Paul Heyman can do the fucking work himself. And I gotta tell you, tonight's promo between the two was good. John Cena opened the show, addressed the fact that he's gonna be facing Brock Lesnar, addressed how fucking dangerous the guy is, really put him over. And then Paul Heyman comes out and cuts an equally long promo on John Cena. John Cena gets pissed and fights back. And basically, Cena was serious throughout the whole thing. And when Cena is serious and you take out all the little funny jokes, he can cut a fucking hell of a promo. And he is every bit as good on the mic as anybody else in the business. He's got great delivery. He's got great passion, great emotion. And he knows what he's doing. And I thought it was great shit. I'm looking forward to the match. Ironically, Cesaro interrupts and comes out to the stage where Paul Heyman is standing. Now, these guys, according to Raw last week, had broken up. Cesaro said he's no longer a Paul Heyman guy. They've gone their separate ways. Well, now Cesaro comes out and gives Paul Heyman this really awkward hug, which I like because this means maybe that's just some sort of a tease that the former relationship between Paul Heyman and Cesaro is not over yet. Cesaro gets pissed at John Cena for the way he was talking to Paul Heyman. He says, nobody talks to my friend that way. Even though we're not associated with each other anymore, he's still my friend, and I'm challenging you to a match. And Cesaro and John Cena proceed to have a great fucking match to open Raw. That's right, the guy that sucks had another great match. I'm starting to lose count of how many great matches the worst wrestler in the world has had. And not surprisingly, John Cena won. You know, if anybody's freaking out, fuck you. This is a goddamn build for SummerSlam. It's John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. It's a huge main event. This is a big deal. You're gonna have John Cena lose 3 weeks before that match? Fuck off. Be pissed at the WWE for the way they're booking that guy. A couple of weeks ago, he lost to Kofi Kingston. So if he loses to John Cena in a great long opening match, I don't see what the problem with that is at all. I thought it was a great match, and those two guys are fucking studs, you know, and I love Cesaro. I'm with everybody that says this guy needs to be, you know, a main eventer. I truly agree with you 100%. Why they're not doing it, I have no fucking idea. But in the meantime, he's giving us great matches, and tonight on Raw, he got to work with the world champion. That's nothing to shake a stick at, okay? So this guy, it's not like he's not doing anything, but I think the fans, and myself included, would like to see Cesaro, you know, taken a little bit more seriously and made into eventually a main eventer. Now, just to touch quickly on the Cena-Brock Lesnar match for SummerSlam, still there's been a lot of talk of what kind of finish they're going to do. Is Brock Lesnar really going to win the title? When is Seth Rollins going to cash in the briefcase? You know, I have no idea. I think there's a lot of different directions they could go. It all depends on Brock, like I said last week. It just depends on what they've worked out with him. If he's going to be on more shows, more Raws, more pay-per-views, then I think, yes, he will beat John Cena for the title and have some sort of a run with it. And there's also the possibility of Seth Rollins cashing in. So I don't know. I think if Brock is going to stick around, then he needs to win the title and he needs to hold the title. If Brock Lesnar is not going to stick around, then you can do all sorts of shit. You know, what about Batista? Don't forget about him. I'm pretty sure we're supposed to see him back in the WWE, you know, before his contract is up. I thought he came back and signed a 2-year deal. So he should be back anytime. Why not bring him back at SummerSlam? What if he crashes the match? What if Cena and Brock, who are having a brutal match together, are both laying in the ring spent? We haven't seen a winner yet. Batista comes out there and beats the shit out of both, you know, because both guys are weakened and been through a grueling match. Batista comes out, takes advantage of it, beats the crap out of both of them, and then Seth Rollins comes out to the ring and cashes in the briefcase. They could go in a crazy direction like that if they wanted to, you know, keep the belt on Cena for any reason. But I still think, because it's SummerSlam, generally in these type of matches, we have a clear-cut winner. That's been the case in previous years with Brock and Triple H and Brock and CM Punk. I don't think you bring Brock in to have a big match like this just for it to be, you know, a double DQ or a bullshit ending or a schmaz or, you know, a clusterfuck or something like that. I think this needs to be a winner and a loser, and I predict still that Brock Lesnar will beat John Cena for the WWE title. I actually couldn't imagine it going any other way, but, you know, the WWE, they pulled some funny shit last year with Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan and all of that. We had 2 title changes, so we'll see. Seth Rollins, I don't think he could cash in the briefcase right now. I can't see him cashing it in on Brock, even after Brock has a match. I cannot imagine little Seth Rollins being able to beat Brock Lesnar in anything. And if he does cash in the briefcase on Brock, that means Brock gets the rematch, right? And Seth Rollins doesn't want that either. So I think they hold off the Seth Rollins briefcase for a lot longer, maybe a few more months. I don't think SummerSlam is the right time. Depending on the situation, maybe Night of Champions will be, but I think that depends on what happens at SummerSlam. So there's lots of time to speculate on Seth Rollins' briefcase cash-in, but I actually do not see them doing it at SummerSlam. And if Batista winds up coming back, a match I would like to see, I've mentioned it in the past, there is still time. I think it would be really cool somewhere to do that 4-way match with those 4 megastars from OVW. Brock Lesnar, Batista, Randy Orton, and John Cena. That was the cream of the crop, you know, of those developmental guys. They became huge stars in the business, and they were never in the company at the same time as big stars. I mentioned it at the beginning of the year. Wow, they're all here. You know, they've all been here before, but they weren't on the same level. Batista hadn't even gotten started yet. Neither had Randy Orton. Now they're all megastars, and they're all in the WWE, all under the same roof. Put them in a fucking match together. Why not? Fatal 4-way, Night of Champions, John Cena versus Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton versus Batista. I'd fucking watch that match. Hell yeah. You know, that's history right there. So I wouldn't mind seeing something like that. So the possibilities are endless. Luckily, we still have a couple of more weeks where we can debate this, and you can give me all your ideas as well. Speaking of SummerSlam, the other big angle that took place on Raw was the main event. That's right, the main event segment was 2 divas, Stephanie McMahon and Brie Bella. Triple H and Stephanie come out to the ring earlier in the night, and Stephanie is putting on a great act. You know they're up to something. She's acting all freaked out, like she spent 2 goddamn hours in jail and her fucking life is ruined, and she's freaking out. She's going to go to jail. She's going to be all in all sorts of trouble if Bray doesn't drop the charges. Goddamn, you're rich. You've got lawyers. You're talking about a simple assault here. So Stephanie is being so overdramatic. It's ridiculous. So you know that this has got to be some big ploy, and I was thinking that they were just going to beat the fucking crap out of her, the way they did to Daniel Bryan after the Occupy Raw, and then they handcuffed him and beat him into the fucking dirt. I knew they were setting up something like that. So at the end of the show, Stephanie comes out, calls out Bray to the ring, and basically begs her to drop the charges. And basically, this whole thing is a setup and a ploy to get Bray to demand her job back and demand a match. And apparently it's what Stephanie wanted all along. In order for Stephanie to get true revenge on Bray for having her arrested last week, she's got to get her in the ring. Otherwise, if she assaults her or puts her hands on her, you know, she can go to jail. So Stephanie makes it seem like she's all freaked out, basically reverse psychology on Bray to get Bray to demand her job back and demand a match with Stephanie. And at the very end, she smiles, slaps Bray right off the fucking ring, unbelievable, and says at SummerSlam, I'm gonna make you my bitch. And Stephanie is fucking great. I mean, those two girls were the main event. Now, granted, that's not a match. When was the last time we had two divas main event a Raw? Trish and Lita? I mean, if you ask me, John Cena versus Cesaro was main event material, and they put that shit in the first match. So it sounds like to me they're making this match a big deal for SummerSlam. Stephanie has not been in the ring in 10 years. She's about to have a match here for the first time in a decade. And if they do wind up doing something crazy at SummerSlam, like turning Nikki Bella heel, don't forget I was the one that fucking said it first. Have the Bellas develop their own identities. Nikki can go over to the Authority. Now, granted, you know, this is an uninformed opinion, because another thing that I have no knowledge of is Total Divas. I still, to this day, do not watch any of it and have never seen a minute of it. Don't really want to, really not that interested, but I don't know how that ties in as well. I know Stephanie's heavily featured, Brie, Nikki, all sorts of fucking people in the WWE, so, you know, this might be a Total Divas tie-in, and it might just be a way to promote the show. Because I would imagine a Stephanie McMahon match at SummerSlam tied in with the Total Divas could be a pretty big deal for their ratings and all their bullshit. But you would think for a match this big and how seriously they're treating it, then the finish has got to be something serious. It's not just going to be one person's going to win, one person's going to lose. You got to have some drama out there. I would like to see either, like I said, the Nikki Bella heel turn. I would like to see Daniel Bryan possibly make an appearance out there. I want to see something fun. This match might not be much to look at in the ring, so they better add something else, another dynamic to the match to make this entertaining at SummerSlam. They better come up with something. As far as SummerSlam goes, we have 3 confirmed matches right now. Another one is Bray Wyatt versus Chris Jericho. Their feud was furthered on Raw when Jericho took on Seth Rollins, and the Wyatts interfered. Dean Ambrose did not. He was not on the show. I think he was off doing some sort of promotional work for the WWE or something. There was some sort of a reason why he wasn't on Raw. So instead of Dean Ambrose attacking Seth Rollins, the Wyatt family attacks Jericho, and now it's official. Their match is on for SummerSlam. And like I've already mentioned, we've got Brock and Cena and Stephanie and Brie, so that's 3 confirmed matches. The other matches that we're pretty sure are going to happen, I would think, are Roman Reigns and Randy Orton, given what we saw on Raw. So that match is all but set for SummerSlam. I'm sure that will be confirmed by next week. Obviously, Paige and AJ are going to be doing something at SummerSlam because their feud is continuing on Raw. And Rusev and Jack Swagger looks like it's back on. This has got to be a flag match. They're out there waving the flags in each other's faces. So I'm sure it's going to be a flag match at SummerSlam. Very old school, very 80s. You know, I still like the Rusev Swagger feud. I'm glad Swagger's a face. But, you know, I don't know. I feel like it's losing steam. And in light of the plane crash and, you know, all of the bullshit that's going on over there in WWE's continuous reference of Putin and all that, I just don't know. But, you know, it's going to be an old school match, and we'll see what happens there. There was a lot of stupid shit on this Raw, too. You had Damian Sandow coming out there in a goddamn spacesuit. He's taking on Adam Rose. Segments like that just serve no fucking purpose whatsoever. They're sure as shit not funny, and I guess they're meant to be entertaining, but they're not. I still don't know what the fuck they're doing with Sandow. How long is this going to last? How many more weeks is he going to come out there dressed as something? I think we can move on from that. Whatever they're planning to do with him and whatever the reasoning is behind them dressing him up in a goddamn Halloween costume every fucking week, why don't you give us the explanation for why that is? You're pregnant. You're in the 3rd trimester. Time to have that fucking baby. And speaking of stupid shit, they ended Bo Dallas's streak. Really? Just like that? Against R-Truth of all people? I mean, great, good for R-Truth, but I guess the WWE didn't want to have a streak for Bo Dallas. It's not like the streak was long. It was only like a dozen matches or something. Have it go on a little bit longer, and when you have him lose the streak, make it a little bit bigger deal than this. I guess they just wanted to illustrate that when Bo Dallas loses, he snaps and turns into an asshole, and then still runs around and acts like he won. So the silly delusion of Bo Dallas is still there, but just such a strange segment and a strange time to end Bo Dallas' streak. At least continue it a little bit longer. He doesn't have to go 101 or anything like that, but at least, come up with something a little bit more creative than that and think this fucking shit through. I think the WWE missed a big opportunity because even though Bo Dallas' streak is nothing that impressive, still, when it does end, that is something, and that could create some excitement with the fans. Remember when Kurt Angle was undefeated in the WWE, and it wasn't a very long undefeated streak, just a couple of months, but when he got to the Royal Rumble, who beat him? Taz showed up, surprised everybody, beat Kurt Angle for the first time, and the fucking roof came off the place. They could have done something like that. Had him lose to a returning star or whatever. Have fucking Batista come out there, whip his ass or something like that. Who knows? Before I get out of here, I just want to mention a couple of things. By the way, the SummerSlam commentary is almost done. It is a monster. I grossly underestimated how long this thing was going to be, and in true good mic work fashion, I always advertise things too early, but it's almost done. I'm shooting to release this thing by this weekend, so Friday, Saturday-ish is when I plan to have this thing up and finished, and I can tell you, it's over 3 hours long. It's a lot of fun. But I wanted to mention a couple of the other wrestling news stories going around as well. One of them is that Daniel Bryan found a burglar in his home and chased the motherfucker down and stopped him and put him in his goddamn finishing move until the cops got there. D-Bry's a badass. I thought that was a pretty cool story, and good for Daniel Bryan, and I'm glad nobody was hurt. I'm glad those guys weren't armed. I'm glad that Daniel Bryan and Bray didn't catch them actually inside the home where they were forced to have an altercation and one of them had a weapon or something like that. So I'm glad it ended the way it ended, and I'm glad the piece of shit got caught, and I think there was 2 people. And as a matter of fact, I think the guy that Daniel Bryan caught was also wanted on kidnapping charges. So Daniel Bryan's a fucking hero. Good for him. I really hope that when he comes back, he can be world champion again, or at least, be in the picture. I hope his neck surgery and everything works out, too. Apparently, he's going to have another surgery now. He's basically out indefinitely, and it's still surreal. I mean, think back to what he did at WrestleMania 30, how promising the future looked. This should be Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan right now at SummerSlam, and instead, the entire landscape of the WWE has changed because of this injury. I mean, it just sucks. I was looking forward to Daniel Bryan's summer-long title reign, at least, and just to see how he does as the face of the WWE, as WWE champion, But still, it's just such a bummer for me to think about what he's going through. Get well soon, Daniel Bryan, and congratulations on getting a piece of garbage off the street. Well done. And the last piece of news I'll get into is Sting. He made a surprise appearance at Comic-Con right here in my own town of San Diego. And no, I was not there. It kind of sucks. I wish I would have gone and checked out that panel. It was very cool to see Hulk Hogan and Paul Heyman and Daniel Bryan there. And then Sting surprises everybody and just shows up. First the commercial, now this. I gotta tell you, it's really cool to see him there. I was never too high on Sting coming in and doing something major, just due to his age, and what kind of match he can have. But still, just seeing Sting in a WWE environment is very cool as a wrestling fan. And now I've kind of gotten bitten by the bug. And the reaction that the commercial got for the video game, I mean, that's a fucking commercial. The fans went nuts when they showed the video of that commercial. As a matter of fact, they were booing when they found out it was for a video game. They were legitimately pissed that Sting wasn't there live. I think the WWE is starting to realize that Sting really will have a big impact when he comes in. I think the WWE and their crazy WWE minds might not think Sting is that big of a deal because he never worked there. Well, that's fucking bullshit. Everybody wants to see Sting do something, obviously. Even Sting has been saying he wants to work with The Undertaker. I was pretty much against that match from the start, but the WWE might be considering it if Undertaker is at all game. If he has any interest whatsoever in doing that match, it could be fucking epic. So I think the WWE is really noticing how over Sting is with the fans still, and they should bring him in to do something. Yes, he's in his 50s, but in the right situation and booked properly, Sting in the WWE for one match or something, like a Hall of Fame and a WrestleMania deal or whatever, could be very, very, very memorable, no matter what he does. If he doesn't work with Undertaker, he could work with Cena. If he doesn't work with Cena, he could work with Triple H. There's a lot of good programs that Sting could have, and there's a lot of good storylines that they could basically make up and make the angle good. But all in all, it's awesome to see Sting in the WWE. It was cool to see him show up at Comic-Con. It was cool to see him do an interview talking about his future in the WWE and the fact that he is there now. And I think WrestleMania 31 should be interesting. I mean, obviously, we've got to see Sting go into the Hall of Fame. That's got to be what they're planning. And if he has a match, you know, the jury is still out on who that match will be with. But I think the WWE is probably going to wind up doing it because the fans are really excited to see him come in. I'll admit, I got goosebumps when that fucking commercial played. I mean, it was a goddamn commercial. I don't even play video games. I'm only good at Royal Rumble on Sega Genesis. I don't know anything about 2K fucking 15, so I don't even play that shit, and I was still just amazed about how awesome it was and how cool it was to see Sting in the WWE, the real Sting. Fucking great shit. So the possibilities are endless for Sting. The possibilities are endless for Brock Lesnar. Should be a fun few months because we don't know what the fuck is going on. So my next regular commentary will be up most likely next week after Raw, and like I said, keep an eye out this weekend for my SummerSlam Memories commentary. It's going to be a blast. Until next time, peace.